Hi everybody, Renzo here. Today I'm gonna explain you how I simplify the drawing and the painting process. Okay, I'm gonna share with you all Photoshop first. I got the picture here. Okay, here's the picture. I found it just like this. It's not complete. As you can see, there's no head. There's no forehead. There's no head. But like it. What I did with Photoshop, I just painted on top. A little bit sketchy. That's enough. The first thing that I do, and I do it all the time, is just checking proportions. Remember that the distance from here to here is the same distance from here to here. From the eyebrows to the bottom of the nose, from the bottom of the nose to the chin. This portion, you split this portion in three. Okay, you got the position of the eyes. You split this one in two. You got the bottom of the mouth. Okay, obviously this is not perfect, but if you see from the very beginning that the face it has like a bigger mandibles or a short nose, you adapt these measurements to the person. Next thing I do is I just group values. For this, I squint down my eyes and I see, groups of lights and shadows. And this is what I'm gonna copy. Obviously, first the proportion, then this. There are more shapes here. I'm just trying to see positive and negative shapes for the lights, for the shadows. Okay, and that means the beginning is gonna be something like this, where I have just three values. I had light, mid-tone, and shadows. Okay. Okay, let's begin. I'm gonna start with this one, this step. Then I'm gonna move to this one. It's not like I need to do this shapes. Just draw the shapes. No, it's just like this is something that I keep in my mind just by observation. It means that I move from this to this. Okay, and I try every time that I continue painting, I try to check out all those proportions. Okay, let's begin. I have here titanium white, cadmium yellow light, cadmium red, which I need more, alizarin crimson, that's the next one, this one, raw umber, ultramarine blue, and ivory black. Okay, I'm going to start sketching. I'm going to use a little bit of linseed oil and raw umber. First, I gotta see the whole head. Okay, just working on the overall shape to see the position of the whole head. Okay, it's gonna be just like that. The center line of the face. Now you can trace all these lines on top of the photograph. Print out an extra photograph and just go on over that, and then you can just have two. One that's going to be the one from where you copy, and the other one is just to trace this axis. Okay, this one here. I know that the eyes are halfway from the top of the head to the bottom. I know I don't not making any mark for that. I'm gonna just use my imagination for the placement of the eyes, and just from there I place the eyebrows. If I have the eyebrows and the bottom of the chin, it's gonna be easier to find the nose. If I split this in three portions, I'm gonna find where I'm gonna sit the eyes. If I split this one in two, I'm gonna find where I'm gonna sit the mouth. Okay. Now I need a bigger brush. Still gonna use just raw umber, a bit more linseed oil. Okay. And squinting down my eyes, for example, all this area is just a darker value. It's just a flat shape. Okay. Now next, this one. Okay, the shape of the forehead. Imagine that you just cut in pieces of paper. Okay, you put them one next to each other. Hello Mark, hello Cosimo, hello Angel. Okay, just raw umber with a little bit of linseed oil. Now here, the same. Now this thing about proportions is something that during the process you need to just check out again and again. Because one thing that happens for sure, that as we paint, everything starts to move. This particular painting is to practice this, a little bit of proportions and using values to draw. You can start just with a really tight drawing if you want. Okay, and on top of that, just add this values. Okay, I got this. I got this. A bit more paint, not too much right now. Just want to establish the darker values. Okay, that's easy to see how tilted is this area, this and this. Now I need a bigger brush. Okay, more raw umber. Just for this area. And the hair. The hair is the same. If I just think about this shape, how tilted, how is the width, the height, is going to be easy for me to copy. Now, obviously, this is something that you need to practice. Simplification, we need to start, we always start just simple. That's the only way to start. Okay? Using proportions, and this, it helps a lot. Using the proportions helps a lot because we already know where you're going to place the nose and the mouth. Because if you have the center line, you know where these two lines are crossing, it's going to be the mouth. And where these two axes are crossing, there's going to be the nose. And here, there's going to be one eye here and one eye here. That's going to be more difficult, okay? But eventually we're going to get the position of the eyes. The thing is that one is narrower than the other one is a little bit wider. It's just, let's say, easier when the face is in a perfect front view. Okay, I got this. Now I'm going to prepare another color for a mid-tone. White. I'm gonna mix a little bit of orange, yellow and red. I'm gonna knock down the orange with blue. If the mixture is too greenish, you add a touch of red. Okay, if it's too reddish, you add a touch of blue. There's no necessary to have the right color right now. Basically what we want is just get the values. When you get the values, it's going to be easier to get the likeness. Okay, this color, it looks too grayish, but you gotta consider the color of your canvas. My canvas is orangey. That's why it's just any color that goes on top, that it has a little bit of an orangey, but it's not pure. It's gonna look a bit more grayish than it really is. That's what's happening with this color here. And the first step is painting, is covering the whole canvas with oil paint. In that way you can judge the colors. You can judge the colors for the second layer. I mean, it's not like you gotta wait for the painting to dry. It's just wet on wet. You just add more paint on top. Okay, I got that. I'm gonna paint here a bit darker. Hello, oh, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Hello, Jonas. Hello, Arby. Okay, let's continue. Okay, now here she has a sweater. It's kind of pretty light. I can just change the color. No, because I have the face here. It's the lighter, let's say, lighter area on the painting, but I have at the same time this one. Maybe I should knock down this value. In that way, it's not gonna compete with the face. And at the same time, I could just change the color of the background if I want more color. I'm just mixing raw umber and white. Oh, I did something new this week. I opened up an Amazon account. They call it like Amazon storefront. And the link is on the description. That means that if somebody wants to support my channel, you can just by buying materials, using my link, I'm gonna get a commission. Simple as that. Obviously, if you just look for something that is not in all the links that I'm sharing on Amazon, you can just look for anything that is not in my link, and I'm gonna get a commission anyway. That's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. This is emerald green. I'm gonna just use emerald green for the background. Emerald green and a little bit of raw umber. A bit of white. Since I'm not used too much paint at the very beginning, I can just change any color. But I'm gonna add more paint, but first I need to just cover the whole canvas. Okay, let's see. I think that's enough. I could use the same green here. A little bit lighter, a bit more saturated. I like it. Okay. Now, now that you have all the painting covered, this is pretty simple. Okay, the step is pretty simple. If you wanna practice, but maybe you don't wanna take the risk of doing that, even consider even tracing. Okay, trace the image is a practice. Okay, it's an exercise. Trace the image, and then draw these shapes as closer as possible to what you see on. I got the images here. Okay, and get to this stage. When you got to this stage, you compare and you see you need to make some adjustments. Like maybe the skin color you got is too reddish, too yellowish. You're just gonna prepare more paint and repaint again that area. Okay, as simple as that. Now here are the photographs. I'm gonna share them on the screen. Okay, let me see. I got this one and I got this one. Okay. Now remember, you can just see those pictures on my Patreon. You don't need to pay anything. You just join. Look for the option join as a free member. You're gonna see the YouTube video there. This YouTube video, and below the photograph, the pictures are attached. Okay, and obviously you know that the video stays here. And that way you can just go back to and practice. Come back here and practice again and again. Hello, babe Barbara from Philippines. Hey, welcome. Jonas is saying, when you are painting a prima, can you tone your canvas just before you start the portrait to paint over it? Or does it need to dry the background? Oh, you can just, it depends. In my case, I tone my canvas with acrylics. If you tone it with oils, you can just do it even 5 minutes. I have seen some painters doing that, like 5 minutes before painting, and they work wet on wet. Hello Tina. Hello Long. Hello Mateo. Oh, thank you so much, Mateo. Okay. Okay, no problem, Mateo. Okay, now that I have this, I'm gonna just again go over the color. Okay, remember you got to this stage, which is kind of simple. Okay? Now that you painted everything, you notice that maybe your painting is too dark, too light, too pinky, too yellowish. You're gonna just make adjustments. Okay, one thing that you gotta be just careful and you gotta pay extra attention are the shadows. The shadows, you need the shadows to be dark enough. And there's another thing, another rule, that you need to keep the shadows transparent, which is kind of difficult to think about that, like how I'm gonna keep those darker and transparent at the same time. Yeah, transparency of the shadows, it means that don't add white when you mix the shadows. Just that, because as soon as you add white, you create a kind of milky shadow. Imagine that you just got, I made this example a couple of times. You got 2 glasses with coffee, and you add water to one, what you got? A transparent brownish, because the coffee, if you add water, you make it transparent. If you add milk to the other one, what happens? Becomes opaque. It's the same with painting. If I add white to the raw umber for the shadows, I'm gonna make it opaque. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not gonna add white. No. It means that you just need to add the right amount of maybe white. If you got a shadow that's not that dark, that's gonna happen with practice. When somebody's a beginner, usually getting dirty colors or muddy colors is kind of common. You know, it's just about practice to get used to the oil paint, the texture, and how you mix the paint on the canvas, on the palette. Okay. Okay, let's see. Step back. Okay, I see that I need more yellow on the face. I added more paint, but it wasn't the right color. No, it's not that important to copy all the colors exactly, but we all know that we want to get close enough. Okay? It doesn't matter what we say that. No, that's not important. We want at least a little bit closer. And that's okay. What we learn with time, with practice, is not to be worried about getting the color really close. We are more worried about getting the shadows. Okay, a bit more yellow, just like that. If you notice, I'm adding more and more paint. Okay. Now remember the planes of the face. You got another video that I did a couple of weeks ago speaking about the planes of the face. Obviously that's something that we need to practice. Let's say that all the videos kind of complement between them. Okay, one was about the planes of the face, the other one was about the Loomis method for proportions. Okay, let's see, now I'm going to paint the shadows again. After getting all this, you see the shadows, how transparent they look. If you go back to the video when I just applied the paint here for the shadow, they look really dark. It's because there was nothing to compare to. Okay, but now that I have more paint, I notice that I need to add a darker value there. Okay, I can just mix raw umber and a little bit of cameo red. Okay, what you keep doing, keep thinking that you're just working with flat shapes. Okay, slowly we're gonna add more details and start working on the form. Now I'm not gonna paint this eye that dark because it's not too dark. I'm gonna draw the eye here. I don't have too much paint, as you can see. I'm trying to keep the shadows a bit transparent. And usually when we end up a painting, we notice something that usually we add more paint, but the paint is thicker on the lights and thinner on the shadows. That's something that could happen naturally sometimes, but that's a rule. Okay, keep the shadows transparent, or let's say thin and transparent, and the lights thick and opaque. Okay, we're at darker value here. I'm gonna use pure black. Now, if you don't want to use pure black, mix ultramarine blue and raw umber, and mixing black and alizarin crimson. I need to see my darker value here. Okay, it's gonna be there, and it's gonna be here. Now I'm gonna draw one eye with this darker value here. The other one. Now the nose. For the nose, I'm gonna add cadmium red to this mixture and alizarin crimson. Feel free to ask me any question, okay? Anytime. Okay, now we need this reddish color for the nostril. Okay, for the mouth too. And that way we keep some transparency on these areas. Okay, now we could mix more colors to create the transitions between the values, or we could blend. Okay, I would say as a practice, try both. Okay, if somebody wants to blend, just pick up a clean brush and you can do this. Just stay between one value and the other. It's like half of the brush is to one side and the other half of the brush to the other side. Okay, and there. Now, the other thing that you can do, you just mix more colors here. You lay down a brush stroke there. I would say try both ways, then you see what you like. Here, for example, okay, you can just mix a darker color. This is a good way to practice mixtures when we gotta mix and mix again. But sometimes we just want something a little bit faster. We do this. That's okay. We're going one way or the other. I'm gonna blend, especially when for some to get some really soft edges. Okay, now this mid-tone, I need more brushes. Hello JJ, Mateo is asking me what's your favorite artists. Oh, there are so many. So many. And the funny thing that I discover always more and more, I was just seeing a couple of painters that just discovered like a week ago. I don't remember the names. I need to go back and see them again and read about them again and watch the paintings again carefully to know. But there are so many. Obviously the ones that I always admire, and I think every one of my friends admire at the time that when I was an art student. Okay, the number one was Rembrandt, and the number two it was a Peruvian painter. His name is Bacaflor. He was pretty good. He was really good, and another painter that we admired, that was the first principal of the School of Art here in Peru. Okay, his name is Daniel. Spanish is Daniel Hernandez. Okay. Now you can just continue blending or just lay down brush strokes like I'm doing. Here it comes a little bit of copying, a little bit of knowing the planes, a little bit of anatomy. Okay, I'm gonna use a little bit of this color to show with Lindsay Doyle. Okay, here there is a bone. Okay, here there is a bone. The lower portion of the bone is aligned with the nose. That's the zygomatic bone or the cheekbone. This area is fat tissue. Okay, this is the upper part of the eye socket, here and here. And as you can see, you don't see it on the picture, but here, if you see any face on a 3D view, you're gonna see a bump here. That's just the upper part of the eye socket. The eyes are just rounded forms, spherical forms. The nose, spherical form. The chin, spherical form. That means that you work between a combination between a primary form, which is a sphere, and a little bit of knowledge of anatomy. Okay. Now, I would recommend to buy a scar, a plastic scar, where you can see just the bone structure, and that way you understand the volume. Why? Because when you understand that this is a spherical form, then you understand, and you work with the primary form, a sphere, you understand that you can just lay down light here. Why? Because there's a bump there. It's a rounded form. It's the cheekbone. And you can just lay down light here because there's another bump. And you start thinking about comparing one value with the other. And here it comes a little bit of color theory. What happens with warmer colors, they pop forward. Okay, and the other colors that's not a warm recede. I can just add a little bit of yellow with a little white and add a highlight to the nose. And that's gonna make this highlight pop forward more than the highlight here. Okay, if I do the same here, I add more yellow there, this one is gonna pop too. And then you start making a difference between those highlights. Now, a color that I love, that maybe you have seen me doing a lot of times, is using this emerald green with a lot of white. Sometimes a touch of yellow, like today, sometimes just green and white, and adding a highlight like that. Okay? That color is going to glow because the face is all kind of orangey, and the green is going to glow. Now, if it looks like there is a stain on the nose, we need to adjust the color. Right now, it's too much green, but that's okay when we start in, the process of painting. Now, if I add this again, here, everywhere, it's not going to look like the nose is coming forward. It's going to look like every area that it has this contrast is coming forward. And as we continue painting, we gotta think about values. Yeah? For example, the light on this area, it was inside of this shape. Yeah? It was inside this flat shape. All the values that are there, they're kind of family. That means that no value here, the light, is gonna be as light as the light on the nose, for example. The same happens with other colors. The same happens with the lights. They share, they are closer to each other on value, they are closer to each other on colors. A little bit of red. There is always red here. Now you decide how much red you add. Some painters just they love to add touch like that, and even just leaving the brush stroke just there. That's up to you. As soon as you respect the first structure, proportions, and simplification, okay, between light and shadows, you can just play with brush strokes, colors. Okay, a reflected light. Light bounces everywhere. We don't see all the colors that are out there because it's just impossible for the human eye to see all those subtle variations, all those subtle shifts when the light bounces everywhere and the color bounces everywhere. Okay, it's just so difficult, and well, maybe not difficult, maybe impossible. But we know that's why we need knowledge. We just don't paint what we see. Okay, we paint what we see, what we know. And when we know more, it's kind of we see more. But the reality is that we don't see more. It's just we know that, for example, that maybe it could be something greenish bouncing here, and we add a little bit of green, just a little bit. Maybe something purple. Maybe not. Maybe yes. You know? Who knows? That's pretty difficult to know. But you gotta just the knowledge about what happens, you know. And if you look for any information about how the light moves around us, and how the light, obviously, light and color, it's kind of the same thing. You understand that light bounces everywhere, and we use that information from science to apply it on painting. Okay. It's just like color theory. It's not like we use the information from color theory to understand what we see, why we see some, you know, warm colors, cool colors, how we can just create the illusion that something is coming forward or receding, which helps a lot when we are trying to get the illusion that something that is flat looks three-dimensional, which what every painter wants to do. Okay, we all. And for that, we use a combination between the knowledge about color theory, values, edges. In order to apply all the knowledge on this face, we need to establish first a structure, because it's a human face, and if something is off on the human face, all the things that we do about color, edges, they're not gonna look okay when something is off on a human face, on the proportions. Okay. I need to mix more colors. Experiment a bit, you know, instead of using just carmine red create a mixture of an orangey color with alizarin crimson, yeah, and see what happens. And if you have more reds, use more reds. You have more yellows. Yeah. I try to keep it simple, okay, because that would be too much for me to try to finish up a painting using 20 colors on my palette. But you could use more. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm gonna soften this edge. Here, a little bit of blending is gonna work better than trying to add another touch of a value between the mouth, the upper lip, and the skin. A little bit of blue, ultramarine blue. I just want to create contrast here with the nose, okay? If the nose is warm, it's a warm color, I'm just using full color there. What's going to happen? The nose is just going to move forward. At the same time, I need to add a little bit of pink. This pink, for this pink color, I could add a little bit of alizarin crimson, which is a bit cooler. Okay, it's not like cadmium red, that's warmer. Okay, another thing that I need to do is a sharp edge. Even maybe I don't see it as sharp, but I need to have a sharp edge here to make the nose pop. Okay, now I'm using edges. Okay. I have a little bit of purple here. I'm gonna use it for the mouth. A touch there. Touch here and touch here. Okay, more blue. A little bit there. No, green. I create a darker green. Blue and cadmium red. Practice like that, just add more mixtures, more colors. Enjoy making mistakes, because when we learning, practicing, we have a lot of mistakes. That's normal. Okay, remember that reddish areas on the face, okay? Nose, cheeks, chin, eyelids. This one is a liner brush, but it's not like really pointy anymore, but it works more like a really tiny flat brush, which I like it. A little bit of green, and since I'm not using a lot of paint here, just on the tip of the brush, I can just clean it with paper towel and pick up more paint. Okay. Okay, here I need more paint because I want to make it a little bit darker here. Now this is a round brush, a little bit bigger. Okay, time to check out alignments, measurements, proportions. I'm squinting down my eyes. I still see, this simple, shapes. Okay. Well, I got lost. I was working where I was. Ah, the eyebrows. I was on the eyebrows. Raw umber, just pure raw umber. This eyebrow is darker than this one, but here we have a darker value for the hair. It's pretty dark. Okay. I could blend this. Yeah. I want a soft edge there. I could keep some brush strokes on the face. Okay. Maybe something like that. I need more paint. I don't see the brush strokes. I need more paint. Okay, you can choose to make the brush strokes a bit subtle. You just show them a bit more. It's up to you. Okay. Hello, Fatna. Well, another thing is if you join as a free member on my Patreon, you're gonna get access to 5 free recorded paint along, sessions, because I got like a lot, like 200, maybe more than 200 recorded sessions. We paint once a week. I paint with my patrons once a week. We draw Thursdays nights. We paint Friday mornings uh, and Saturday mornings. Okay, since I have a lot of videos, I picked up 5. One is a drawing, the other one is a portrait, the other one is a pet. If you join as a free, you can just see the full process. You can see the class there. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna try if I'm looking at the brushes. I need where is my brush? I have it just here. Okay, this one. I love this one. It's a bristle brush, but I like it. I like it a lot. To add more paint. I think I'm gonna add more paint with just a palette knife. I just want thicker paint here, okay? I'm gonna blend it in a second. I don't want the texture of the palette knife. Little bit of green. Okay, you choose to blend a little bit or not. Like I said before, you can just leave the brush strokes there. And just try to balance some loose brush strokes with some blending. Well, speaking about painters, that I remember one painter that I admired a lot. His name is, how would you say it in English? I don't know, but this in Spanish, Teófilo Castillo. I remember just going to the museum just to see his paintings. The day that I used to go to the museum here was Mondays, because Mondays was free. And I was in my 20s at that time. Then I didn't want to spend money on the museum, and since it was always a free day, all Mondays, it was like I was there. Not every Monday, but let's say once a month. And sometimes when I was painting something and I just have some problems, I just to go one Monday after the next Monday kind of trying to find the answers just seeing the paintings. This painter, Teofilo Castillo, he was a colorful painting. You can just say that some painters are more tonalist, and some painters are just more colorful. He was a really colorful painter. The art community is pretty small here in my country. When this painter died, somebody said the color has died today in Peru, the Peruvian art community. It was pretty nice. It was pretty good to say something like that. Who said it? I don't know. But that phrase stayed for years. And I'm speaking about 20 years ago, maybe more than 20 years ago. A little bit of red. Hello, Sharon. Good morning. Oh, good morning for me. For you, it's gotta be night. Yeah. Good evening. Oh no, sorry, Cherry is saying good morning. I just saw the same blue, light blue icon. Gabriel is saying hi from Germany. Yeah. Good evening, Michael. Okay. I'm gonna grade down the colors a bit here, this mixture. Little bit of green here, blue, and emerald green, a touch of yellow. I'm just trying to knock down the color a bit. I think that's too light. Okay, a little bit of green here. Ooh, I think that's too green, but let's put it here. Let's see. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, a little bit of green here. No, a bit lighter. Mixing raw umber and yellow, which give me a kind of really mute greenish color. Okay, more to make it darker. Really mute greenish color. Okay, I got some red on the shadow there. Just gonna add a little bit of blue here. Just a touch, okay? Let's blend it. Let's see if this brush works. Just adding more colors, okay? Okay. It's too dark. A little bit lighter. And we are painting, we gotta always think that this area is rounded, okay? We need to keep always that in mind, that we need a rounded volume there. Here the same, here on the cheek. Okay, raw umber with a little bit of cadmium red and a touch of yellow. Where is my fan brush? Oh, here it is. A little bit of black to add contrast here. I think it's too dark, but let's see. Here too. What do you think? A little bit of hair, or just hair that goes like this? Mm-hmm. Now we need to pay attention to edges. There are more softer edges than sharper edges. Another thing, we don't need to paint all the details that we see on the picture first. That's impossible, you know, in one session. But there's not need for us to. We just choose the more important. For example, speaking about just one eye, this eye, what would be the more important here on the eye? I have this, let's see, sharp edge with this highlight here. Okay, that would be, it means that here it could be softer, lost. There's no need of detail, just that sharp. And below the eye on the shadow here, a little bit of that, and that would be enough. The same for this eye here, a little bit darker here. There is not definition, or this is a common mistake that I have seen on some people, that we don't see, you know, we don't see that much sometimes on the picture. It's blurry, it's softer, but we add more than what we see. When we do that, basically we just using the knowledge we have to fill the blanket areas. And if we don't have enough knowledge, we're gonna just use what we think is there. Like, for example, if we paint the white of the eye, we're gonna paint it really white because we know it's white. But we didn't have the time to think that is that really white, is in shadow, is in light. That's really the color, because the color depends on light and shadows. Okay. That happens all the time. We end up just painting details that we don't see on the picture. And what's gonna do is gonna make the painting look kind of stiff and cartoonish. We don't need to do that. Okay. Well, I mean, if you don't see something on, for example, an eye that is in shadow, imagine that you don't see it that much. You don't see the corner of the eye. You don't see anything. You don't need to paint anything there. You don't see it. You know, I would even take advantage of that, and I would make that even blurrier, because I don't see anything. But the mistake is that we think that we're gonna make it better by just adding more. Now, obviously, it could be the case that we could make it better. Right? But for people that's practicing and studying, I have seen mostly people just end up with an area of the face that look kind of cartoonish, because it has too much detail in the softness of the face. It's been lost. Okay, you gotta be careful with that. We need to mix some green. Let's pick up this green here. Hello, Lone. Hello, boss. think the green is too bright. I need to knock down the green. A little bit, just a little bit. I'm gonna mix it here, okay? Looks better? I think I liked it better before. Anyway. Hello, Perry. Say, after washing brushes with turpentine, do you clean them with soap too? Yeah, yeah. Sometimes, a few times. What happens that, for example, tomorrow I'm gonna paint because I have a class, and Saturday I'm gonna paint, okay, and Sunday not. Monday I'm gonna paint again. Is what I do mostly. I just keep the brushes on, or wash the brushes with turpenoid, and that's it. And let's say from time to time I use soap, okay, but that's me. I remember, I mean, I have shared studios with so many friends. Oh, saying, do you keep them in a pot with turpentine for the next sessions of let them dry? Oh yeah, no, I dip them on a pot with turpentine, and then I just dry them, and just that. Okay. You know, I don't know how we got used to things like that, like taking care of the brushes. To be honest, I don't know. Really, is it could be, you know, what I was saying that I have shared studios with so many friends. Once we share a house between, we were, I think, eight painters, and that what was amazing about that is that you can just move around each one and see what they were painting and how they were painting. I remember one of my friends, he used to have a palette that looks like he started using that palette 20 years ago. The amount of paint, all the paints, they looked like volcanoes, like 1-2 inches tall on the palette. Was pretty heavy. And then that was just like that. And then you say, wow, you don't say anything, you know? Well, people used to say, hey, oh, let me see how heavy is your palette. Just that. And I remember another friend that he used to keep cleaning. He keep his palette just clean for every single day. He end up the session of the day painting, and he cleaned the palette and the brushes with soap, all of them. He spent like maybe 40 minutes just cleaning the brushes and the palette, and let just everything there ready for the next day. Okay, and there were the ones that they kind of between that, you know, they clean it sometimes. I think I'm the one that is between them, and at the same time it depends how much you paint. You paint daily. Since I paint usually daily, I don't clean the brushes with soap. Maybe once every 2 months, just with turpentine. It's just like a say to myself, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna use them. you know. Sometimes even the oil paint is still wet on the brush. I'm getting some kind of, you know, uh, what's the name? Mary? Oh, what's the name? What's the name? Kind of saint. Okay, I'm gonna just add a little bit of purple here. Just wanna add the color here. Holy Mary, I think that's the what I was trying to say. Looks like a virgin. Okay, and it was just like that, you know. There were it was like each one has a different. The good thing is that nobody says anything about, you know, like you gotta do this or you gotta do that. But I think we need to we need somebody to tell us sometimes, hey, keep some order. Nowadays, for me, since I use a portion of the canvas as a palette, every time that I paint, it's just like I start with a new palette, a clean new palette. And I think that's pretty nice, you know. I think that's pretty good. And the good thing, good thing about what I do is that the palette and the canvas is just the same color, which is perfect. Because sometimes the canvas is gray, the palette is white. Sometimes it just, or vice versa. I used to work on a wood palette, you know, kind of brown palette. My canvas was white. It was kind of tricky to get the colors. Okay, let's think about. I think I needed a little bit of green here. I put the green here too. Okay, I think I need a sharp edge just on the mouth here. Just there. It's not okay, I don't like it. I want to make it a little bit blurry. Maybe I need to move the corner of the mouth a little bit up. Just make it the corner of the mouth soft and blurry. Here a little bit too. But keeping some loose brush strokes here. Okay, you see the purple that I added on the forehead? You know, I did it because we sometimes need to echo the color, and it did that, but I don't like it now. I think I need to just knock down this color. A little yellow, it's too reddish. Okay, that's better. A little bit of yellow, the same value. Oh, that's too saturated. I was about to say the same value and the same saturation, but you can add some accents, okay? To make this a bit lighter. There is a reflected light. Obviously, if the light is coming from up and the left, the light is just bouncing from the bottom lip on the upper lip. And here, on just this edge, there is a lot of saturation for the shadow there. Okay, and there is a sharp edge just between on top of the teeth, just there. Here, there. Hello, Giancarlos. Thank you. Pet is saying, how do you keep order on palette? Mine looks dirty like yours now, but right from the start. Each time I pick up a bit of paint to mix, it gets very dirty. Yeah, I think it's about just practice, and the thing is that it's a habit, and that's pretty difficult to break. The only way to break a habit is just create another habit. That's, let's say, the opposite, but it's gonna be about practice, repetition, repetition, repetition. I gotta say that's pretty difficult. Yeah. The same way that, for example, for me, or I'm pretty sure if I just see my friend, the one that was pretty clean, keeping the palette clean and the brushes clean, pretty sure he's doing the same until today after 20 years. In the same way, my other friend, he keeps the oils like little volcanoes. Maybe pretty sure that he's using the same palette after 20 years. The thing is that habits are so difficult to break. The only way that I find it to break it is just follow somebody, follow the steps again and again. I gotta say that when you got into an art academy or anywhere that you're gonna study, or even study from let's say YouTube videos, if you try really hard to just repeat what you see, which is pretty difficult, because we kind of sometimes copy things to learn, yeah, but there are so many things that we don't copy. Like, for example, I had some students that they were pretty good. They were just getting better and better. But one thing that let's say a couple of them couldn't stop is using plates as palettes. And I think a palette is a pretty important tool. More than keep color cleans is to keep the order on the values. Now my palette is a mess, but usually if you go on the back on so many videos, my palette used to be kind of clean in terms of that there is an order from lighter values to darker values. And the same order that you see here from lighter to darker is on the painting, which is pretty good. Okay, that's the idea. Now, I don't even remember when I started to do that, when I created that habit, but that happened. And that happened by repetition and repetition. Okay? We need that. We need to create a new habit. It's going to take us a lot, but the only thing that we could do is just repeat things again and again, again and again. Until it becomes natural. And we're not going to think about that anymore. And you're just going to see our palette is pretty clean. And it has a lot of order. Okay. I remember when I was a student, you used to pick up the teacher. There were, let's say that for the second year, there were 5 ateliers for the same year, and each atelier, each classroom took 20 students, just 20. And you gotta get earlier to pick up which atelier you want, what classroom you want. And you base that on seeing what teacher is teaching in what classroom, And there was a teacher that was pretty clean on the palettes. And I'm saying that because each one of its students end up just working, or after finish up the School of Art, just with a habit of having an order on the palettes that went from one side were just warmer colors, neutral colors, or gray colors, and cool colors. All of them that end up just using the same palette. Yeah. And that was because they stayed with this teacher for a year. And usually they got, and let's say the day that you pick up the teacher, you wake up pretty early. You go and there are already a lot of students waiting just to pick up. And this special classroom with this teacher, that was the first one that everybody wanted to get in. And then the second classroom, and then the next classroom. What time is it? Almost 2 hours. That's a good time. I was planning this for 2 hours. A sharp edge here. Let's add a little bit of light here. It's too dark. Let's see. Hello, Bob. Hello, Florencia. She's more alive, more human than the photograph. Thank you. Okay. Don't forget to click the like button, please. Obviously, if you like it. And remember, if you want to buy any material on Amazon and at the same time, let's say you want to support my channel, you can use the link. What happens is that you buy I mean, it's not any cost to you, nothing. It's just I got a commission. Okay, I don't even know, but it's just something pretty tiny, but that's pretty good. Yeah. Every time that you buy something, anything, even something that I don't have on the list, it's kind of, I have created a list of the things, the materials that I have used, and some of the another ones that I think they are good, or they look good, you know, and obviously there are more materials. But if you want to buy something, you just look on the browser, on Amazon browser, and if you use my link, I'm gonna get a commission anyway. That's why people call affiliates. Okay, we slowly need to move, thinking about volume. The lip, for example, we need light here. We need to create illusion that is rounded, okay, that we can touch it. That's gonna be pretty difficult. But we try every time. And if we don't get it, we just try next time. Oops, I got a little bit of blue from here. And now this is too dark. Now I become kind of purple. I need to do something here. I'm trying to make it lighter. Sometimes when we have too much paint and we add more paint, we end up just in some kind of fight. They're adding more paint, and we don't see the color change. I'm just cleaning the canvas to see my orangey canvas and see if that helps in some way to create some contrast or add some color. I'm making this a bit darker to separate, to see the top of the head. Separate the background from the head. Okay, now I can add just some light here. Just with white, because I want opaque light. If I add yellow, this light is gonna just glow. And I'm just thinking that I just want the light in color on the face. Okay, clean the brush, pick up more paint. Here a little bit darker too. Okay, now all the colors I have here are kind of opaque, mute, grayish colors. The background here, the face is a bit more colorful, more orangey. Hello, Sylvia. Okay. I don't know what to do on this area, but I think I'm gonna make it this just darker. Just thinking about contrast now. Okay, a bit darker here. I don't understand this. like that. I should see something like that here too. Okay, I'm gonna blend a little bit here. I wanna blend a little bit here, create some softness, but keep some brush strokes there. Same here. A little bit of light. There's a bump here. Just trying to get that. Okay. Here too. Almost done. Okay, I think that's it for today. It's almost 2 hours. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Too much yellow. If I leave it like that, that bright accent, I'm gonna need to add the same accent in other areas of the painting. Okay, here and there, some touches, just some touches of warmer colors, because everything is cool here. Touch of warm color works usually good. Even that there are grayish colors here, it doesn't mean that we cannot add some subtle shifts on the color, you know, a little bit greenish over there, a little bit pinky over here. Just some subtle touches. We could add more colors just with more texture, like using a bristle brush. It's gonna we lay down color, and at the same time we lay down the marks, you know, of the brush. If somebody wants to do that, or we can just try to look something in between. You know, you got some brush strokes, and imagine that you blend a little bit, just a bit, but you see them, okay? Still see them, but just try to get some softness there. Don't get rid of those brush strokes, just soften a little bit. Okay. I think that's just enough for today. contrast, a bit darker here. Okay, that's it for today. I got a question here from Isabel. What kind of brushes? I use synthetic brushes mostly, and a few bristle brushes. Okay, not that. Let's say I just love to go to the stores and I see some brushes and just by eye I see them. I think okay, I think I'm gonna try those ones and I buy them. And I got I don't know how many brushes from different brands. I don't buy the expensive one. I don't buy the cheaper ones, but I got a lot. Okay, which is I think it's pretty good. The only thing that sometimes you're just gonna it's kind of experimenting, buying one brush or another one. I bought these ones from Dollar City, just like $3 brushes, a set for $3, which is nothing. But it works good. They don't last for a lot of time, but they work pretty good. They do the work. Okay, thank you so much everybody for being here. Okay, you got the links to my Patreon if you want to see some free paint along sessions with my patrons. Okay, and if you want to see the other photograph that I used at the beginning, you can just join my Patreon for free. Okay, that would be for today. Thank you so much, every one of you. Don't forget to press the like button, please. Take care, you all. See you next week.